What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm finally back on your screens. It's been a bit too long yet again, but there's been a lot going on in the world this year and it's affected work, things like that, and I've just been distracted. No excuses though, and I'm back now, back to One Life Cars. For those of you who are new around here, my name's Sam Clark and you're watching One Life Cars, a channel where I teach you how to fix your cars, and you can also request your own tutorials on your own car, and I'll do my best to get them done. So if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button, like the videos that you like, and if you've got a specific job you want doing, let me know in the comments and I'll try and make it happen for you. Anyway, today's video, Vauxhall Corsa C, Ford Focus. We're going to do a video on the Vauxhall today and a video on the Focus tomorrow, until I can rattle off all the tutorials I think you're going to need to watch or want to watch on these two cars. And then shortly after that, we're moving on to the next new car for the channel, but I'll tell you more about that another time. So let's crack on with today's video and let you know what we're going to do on the Vauxhall Corsa C. Tell them a bit rusty. Alright guys, back to it, eh? Finally back to it on the Vauxhall Corsa C. And in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to remove and replace the front brake pads. Quite an easy job on these. Quite a common job. You'll find it's a similar process on most cars, but if you need to know how to do it on the Corsa or on most small mid to mid-sized cars of this sort of era in the last 10-15 years, they're all pretty much the same. But this is how to remove and replace the brake pads on the Vauxhall Corsa C. So the first thing you got to do guys is get your wheel loose and the car jacked up. So before you jack the car up, you're going to want to get your brace or whatever you've got and just slightly loosen the wheel nuts. Just take the snap off them. Don't loosen them too much while the car's still on the ground and all the weight's on it. You don't want to do that. Just get the worst off, so when you jack the car up, it doesn't try and turn the wheel with it and it's too tight in case you've got really tight nuts. So we're going to loosen them off and then start jacking the car up. Find your jacking point, which on the Corsas is around here in the sill. Sorry about the bad lighting. I'm actually using a new camera, which is not very good at all. It's not new, it's just a replacement. So I hope the quality's okay, I hope the sound's okay, and I'll try my best to make it look good with the edit. But there's not much else you can do really. If the quality's rubbish, I won't continue filming with it. This is a bit of a trial video, getting back to it, so we'll see how it goes. Let me know in the comments if you've got any issues with the filming itself. So get the jack under, and you can start jacking the car up once you've loosened the wheel nuts. Once you've got the car jacked up to enough height to get the wheel off, make sure you put an axle stand, a spare wheel, some chocks of wood, anything underneath it to support the car. You do not want to work under a car on just a jack, especially one of these jacks, as they can fail, they do fail, and they have failed on me. I've broken 2 of these sort of jacks in the last few years. Normally this bit that the thread goes through is normally plastic and that snaps on you and it can happen at any time, so don't trust them at all. Get it jacked up, get something under it to support it, that's taking the weight. And then we can crack on with the video guys. Once you get to that stage, get your wheel off and out of the way, and I'll show you guys how to remove the brake caliper, get the pads out and replace them with new ones, tidy it all up and get back to where we are now with fresh brake pads. Let's go. So we have the wheel off, the car's jacked up and secure, and at the stage now of trying to get the caliper off itself to get to the brake pads. And dead easy on these sort of setups. All you're going to really need is a flat screwdriver, a little one here, maybe a bit bigger one than that, but it'll do the job, and a 12mm socket or spanner. I'd recommend using the socket and a bar like I have here, because if it's not been off for a while like these ones, they're really tight. I've already split a socket. I used a cheap socket first. I just threw the first 12 on I found in the box, and it was one of the cheaper thin sockets and it just split the end open. So I thought best not use the ratchet on that in case it breaks the ratchet, so I just got a little bar on it and it wasn't too bad with that. And that undoes these 2 bolts at the back here, I should tell you. So if you look at the caliper, you'll get it on a full left lock if you're doing the left side. It's just a little bit easier to get around here to the bolts. And you've got 2 bolts, one there and one further down, so that one and that one. You get your 12mm on the end of that and loosen them anti-clockwise. I've already took the sort of snap off them, so they can be loosened like that, fingers. So I'm going to get these 2 out. After that, this releases the middle section of the caliper. So you've got the caliper mount, or the caliper bracket, whatever you want to call it, which is this bit here, which runs sort of around the outside, and that has its own separate bolts down there. And you have the actual caliper itself, which is this bit in the middle with the pads in it, and it's on these sort of rubber bits, so it can move in and out a little bit as the pads wear down. Otherwise, as the pads wear, you just end up with a gap to the disc. So that sort of moves with the pads. This whole caliper can float. So I'll get both of these out. Tell it's not been touched for a long time. I mean, the car's not been driven for a while, which is why the discs have rusted up, but the discs are actually quite good. They're flat. It just needs a good drive, and maybe it'd be worth taking these off. You know, if your car gets out, let's give them a little clean first with a bit of wire wool or a wire brush, just to get the worst off. But you could just drive it and wear itself nice again. So, got both these bolts out. Put them somewhere safe, and this releases the whole caliper. As you see now, I thought it'd be stiffer than that. You can literally just slide the caliper out of the way. Only little on these. We'll come back to pushing the actual caliper back in a second for your knee pads, as they'll be thicker. You just want to put this, try and mount it on the wishbone a bit like that, so it's not hanging off the hydraulic line. Just like that, and then the line's slack then. And then you're left with your two pads, which are sort of clipped into the disc with these little clips here. Now your new ones should come with new clips, but sometimes on the cheaper aftermarket stuff, the new clips are rubbish. So sometimes I do end up putting the old ones back on because they just fit better and they're tighter. But see how the new ones are. The new ones are good, and they go in properly and tight, and then you'll be fine. Now to get these out, you got to stick your flat screwdriver in the top first, and just catch see how I'm catching that bit there, just the metal bit of the pad. Make a little gap, and then you can just literally work your way down it like that, and they will literally slide out either with the clip or without the clip. The top one's coming with the clip, I think. No, it's not. The bottom has stayed in. These clips go right across too. You can see there the pad sits right on. Sorry for the bad filming. And they just literally pop out. I think they might have a little bridge. Oh no, they are two separate for each side. So you might get new ones with your pads. I think you should. If you don't worry, you can reuse them alright, as long as they're fine, but they shouldn't be rusted. Same for the back pad, just get a flat in it and prise it out, simple as that. And these pads aren't actually that bad, they could do with replacing, but they've got a bit of meat left on them. And for the purpose of today's video, I am going to be putting them back on, as I've not got new ones because the car's off the road. This is just a channel car for you guys to show you how to do stuff. I'm not planning on replacing too many parts anytime soon. So, next thing you want to do is look at pushing the caliper back, and for that we're going to open the bonnet of the car and find your brake fluid reservoir and take the cap off to release the pressure. Now remember on these, I think it's a bit tricky, we'll have a look. Bonnet release. A bit awkward one on that. So guys, oh, it does actually have a little inspection actually you can get to it to top it up, you don't have to take anything off. Yeah, so see this rubber that runs along here, if you just prise this off from this end out of the way, you can flip this cap up, revealing the brake fluid reservoir. Literally unscrew the cap like that, take it off, have a look at your fluid too. I have actually done a video on how to flush out the fluid and change it if you think you need to change your brake fluid. I'll put a link at the end of this video and in the description on that if you want to do your brake fluid change and flush. So the cap's off to any pressure, and we're going to get the caliper itself. Now you can get wind back tools and push back tools for these. You normally use a wind back tool for your rear calipers, and the fronts most of the time you can push them back as easy as getting two biggish screwdrivers, anything will do. Preferably some at the same sort of size, but we'll try it with these two for now. And you can put one in like that, and the other one in like that, and then pull. If you imagine pulling on both screwdrivers towards me now, you get an even, it pushes both sides of the caliper to push it back in. I've done it with adjustable wrenches because they've got a nice flat handle, use two of them, all sorts of things. You know, anything sort of bar or flat bar like this that you can use to cross each other and prise it back will work. You're just going to apply quite a bit of pressure on both sides and push the caliper back. In fact, I'll get someone to hold the camera and we'll show you properly. So just got to get two screwdrivers like that. And push back like so. So you're seeing there how it works. It's a bit hard to hold the camera and show you close, but you've just got to use two sort of bars, screwdrivers, whatever suits, and push it back and it will go back. It can be quite tight, especially on something that's not been touched for a while, but it does work. So get your caliper back as far back as it'll go basically of the new pads. You'll need the space, and then we can look at rebuilding. Right guys, you know at the point where you can start putting the pads back in. So you have your new pads now, obviously not old rusty ones like this. And like I said, they come with the new clips, you can just slot them in, just push in. One's already fell out here, so I can just show you. See, they should be quite springy and tight, so you can just sort of slot them in and they'll stay there like that. You can get your first pad. And this one's got, I noticed this was taking off this little clip on here. I don't know if that'll come on the new ones or not, or you'll have to reuse this one, but just notice that on the outside pad, well, pad facing you on the fronts. So without that one falling off, there we go, that's clipped in better, he says. There we go. I can look at slotting the new ones in. It's a lot easier this with two hands. You get the idea. I'll put the camera down and get them in properly, and the same with the back one. Just make sure the clips are in. They're still there on this. Or you put your new ones in and then slot the pad into position. It's not as hard as I've just made it look, honestly. Just trying to do it with one hand. But yeah, I'll get the front one sorted. There we go. Did it with one hand. And then once they're in, pull them in as tight as you can to the disc, like so. And then just get your caliper again. Flip it round. Obviously you can give all this a little clean off too with some brake cleaner and a wire brush or something as you go. So it's all clean. And maybe put a bit of copper grease on the back of each pad, just a little bit. It helps with the squeaking and that. But don't try not to get it on the disc or around the actual brake pad, as it will affect your braking. Now it's a case of sliding the caliper back on. You might have to tap it in a bit like that. You shouldn't have to bang at it, so just make sure it's all lined up right. And that just slides over the pads. And then you can get your two 12mm bolts. Line them up. And bolt them back in. Just to make sure it's lined up right, because they don't go in right or they go in sort of cross-threaded, so make sure you line it up best you can. And don't try and force a screw in or anything. And that is that, guys. I've got my 12mm socket back on it, tightened both bolts up so nice and tight. New pads are in, well they will be if it's your car, so I've just put everything back together on this. And that is how to remove and replace your brake pads on the Vauxhall Corsa C.